welcome back to Distant Kitchen, episode 7. So today's all about sauces. Sauces are great. Sauces make me happy. They should make you happy too. It's very good comfort food. You can always make something better with the sauce. And it's one of the things about sauces, you want to get the right consistency, right? Otherwise everything will be made out of water, right? So you want to have a sauce-like consistency. People like the mouthfeel of that. So we're gonna do 6 sauces, believe it or not. So well, 2 of them are going to be related to each other. So we're going to do marinara, which is a classic tomato sauce that can be used for lots of things. We're going to use bechamel, which is a classic French white sauce, and a version of that, which is mornay, which has cheese in it. We're going to do a demiglace sauce. You might have remembered us starting to reduce the demiglace in our stock lesson. We're going to make a demiglace sauce. We're going to make a sage cream sauce, and we're going to make a blanc, so another classic French sauce. So, and we're going to do all of these kind of at the same time. So I'll keep trying to specify which ones we're working on. So let's start by heating up the butter for the blanc, for the bechamel. And then at the same time we'll be working on our marinara sauce. So it starts with, as always, with a good quality extra virgin olive oil, or EVU as we call it in the business. Put a little of that in there. I've taken liberty of cutting up the onions. We had a little lesson about how to cut onions already. Some onions and some garlic. So I always prepare plenty of garlic, and I have garlic on hand. Ooh, that smells great. Smell it. Yeah, it smells great. So I've always got garlic on hand when I need it for cooking, right? So we'll take a little bit of garlic and get it into the pot. That could use a little more heat. And butter down there a little bit. Meanwhile, for the mornay sauce or the bechamel sauce, we're going to use milk. So I need to get the milk heated up. Let that boil over, but if not, it'll just be more fun. So we'll get our onions into this pot also. Give it a sizzle. Onions and garlic. I don't brown the garlic too much for this particular project. You can if you want. Put a wooden spoon in there. So there we let that saute for a little while before we got our tomatoes. Now I think we made roux before in one other episode. So roux is basically butter and flour, or some kind of fat with flour in it. It's used as a thickening agent in French cooking. So we want a light yellow. We don't want to do a dark brown roux like they do in New Orleans. We want a light yellow butter. So roux, R-O-U-X. You want to look it up online. So that just gets stirred up. So you basically use equal quantities of butter and flour. It's always exciting here in the Distant Kitchen. So what I've just done now is added too much flour to it. Do you see that? Oh my goodness. So actually there's a really quick fix here. I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil, different kind of a fat. A little bit won't hurt you. Otherwise, if you're bothered by that, you can melt some more butter. So we want to make a paste out of this, and then put it on a really low heat, about 5 minutes, let that cook. I've always said one of the things about learning to be a chef is being able to fix your mistakes. So that's our first mistake we fixed so far today. The way I roll, there's more likely to be another one. So we're going to get these onions until they're kind of soft. There we go. I'll talk a little bit about herbs maybe while we're here. So I can't stand not using fresh herbs even in the winter time. So I buy them in little plastic containers in the supermarket that look like that. And it's like $2. Which just kills me because I grow them during the rest of the year, but here in Indiana things don't grow year round, so I'll buy them. So we've got oregano, fresh oregano, sage, we're using, and rosemary. Rosemary sometimes survives the winter in some climates. So those are the 3 herbs we're going to use. And we're going to use some dried herbs too, because I don't have any fresh basil right now. The rule of thumb about herbs is that if you're going to use a fresh herb, you need to use twice as much as if you're going to use a dried herb, right? Which seems wrong because dried herbs are so much more expensive, but that's how life is. So this is the oregano. You want to pull it off of the stalk just like that. These stalks will go into the compost. Ooh, this smells good. And you know, it's to your own taste. You know, as with every other videos, I've been trying to encourage you to develop your own sense about how you like flavorings, as opposed to me giving you a recipe. Recipes are important in baking, though. So then we want to mince this up a little bit. That oregano's ready to go. Meanwhile, I think we've got these pretty soft back here. So a little word about tomatoes. So the great product is crushed tomatoes. Crushed tomatoes, not tomato puree, but crushed tomatoes. They have the seeds in them still, right? And then I use a combination of those and diced tomatoes, right? Usually about 2 to 1 is maybe 3 to 1 crushed to diced. But again, you know, you see how you like it. All right, so our onions are soft. We're gonna go in with the crushed tomatoes.
Yeah.
Clean it up. We're gonna boil over the milk. Whoa, yeah. Caught just in time. Thanks to my camera one. All right, we're going in with the tomatoes. Oh, and I haven't opened up this one yet, but so you'd be surprised how many of my students don't know what this is. This is a can opener because they've grown up with the one that's electric. You can use the electric one if you want, or you can give your wrist a little exercise here. And it's a pretty nice one. It's not too hard on your wrists. So we've got 2 cans of crushed and 1 of diced going in here. And we're going to thin it out with a little, see it's kind of thick still. All right. We're going to thin out a little water. And then we're going to put in something which you don't have to put in if you don't like to cook with it. I think some of you know that I don't drink this anymore, but I still cook with wine, and so I actually do believe if it cooks long enough, it'll cook out. So the alcohol will. So you don't need it though. It's not a necessary thing. You don't have to do it. It just gives it a different flavor. All right. We're going to put this on the back burner for we'll put it on this back burner to simmer. So that just needs the herbs in it, which we'll put in later. Meanwhile, so that's the marinara sauce. All it's missing is the Italian herbs. I'm going to put basil, oregano, a little thyme, and salt and pepper in it, and then boom, it's ready to go. So now we'll work on the bechamel sauce. So you want milk or a combination of milk and cream. Let's kick it up a notch a little bit here with some cream. Make it a little richer. So you want to get that so it's good and hot. And then we're going to add the roux to thicken it up. So the roux won't work until the liquid is hot and almost boiling, if not boiling. But then you need to cook it for a while, and you want to cook it for a little while because otherwise it's going to taste like flour, right? So you want to cook, we call it cooking out the roux. So you're cooking out the flavor of the roux, right? So we've got this almost ready to boil again. So bechamel is really very simple. It's a milk product, either milk or half and half, and then it's thickened up with the roux, and then salt and white pepper, and boom, that's the sauce, right? So that one's going to get here in a jiffy. All right, give me a little heat here, baby. So it's pretty remarkable what this does. And so this will accomplish what you want in a sauce, which is a creamy texture, right? That people like the creamy texture, right? That's why ice cream is better than ice milk, right? People like creamy texture. All right, so now we got some heat going on here. We're gonna add a little bit of roux at a time. Add a little more heat than I needed. It might have been wiser to use the smaller, larger pot with it, but this is more exciting. A little bit more roux, I think. All right. See how it's starting to thicken up. So we're gonna let that cook for a wee bit. And we're going to do our beurre blanc. So beurre blanc is also made with wines, made with white wine. I've never made it with water. You can try, see what it looks like. Probably work. So beurre blanc is white butter in French, right? So it's a white butter sauce. You start by taking some wine, and then you want to cook some shallots in it, right? So this is a shallot, right? It's like a baby onion. It's for seasoning more than for texture, right? It's comparable to garlic, right? Some herbs go well with garlic, some herbs go well with shallots, right? So, and this is what the shallots look like when they're minced up, right? That's what we're going to be using. So, so I minced them up in advance for you. Just basically mince it up like an onion. Put these in the pan here. Keep my bechamel from scorching here. Maybe a little more. Let that cook up a bit. Then the only other major ingredient in this sauce is butter. It's not a particularly healthy thing, okay, but you know, you gotta have fun once in a while. So beurre blanc goes really well on fish, white fish especially, right? It's a nice sauce for that. It's a very kind of luxurious taste actually. So we cook this off for a few more minutes. Meanwhile, our bechamel is looking good. See how the bubble's getting really big? Turn it way down, that's almost ready. Going good. All right. Gas heat. All right, so while we're doing that, I'm going to season the bechamel. This is all it is, a little bit of salt. And then again, this is to your taste, okay? I'm not going to tell you how much. I tend not to put a lot of salt in things, so you might want to put more than I do. So white pepper is a different kind of a flavored pepper, but the main reason we use it here is because the sauce is white. And here we have sauce bechamel. See how it coats the spoon. All right? All right, perfect. So I'm going to turn that bechamel now into the other sauce, which is mornay. So basically, mornay sauce is a bechamel sauce that has Parmesan cheese in it. I haven't used dried Parmesan cheese in 30 years, except for on popcorn. It's kind of good on that. But I always cook with fresh Parmesan cheese. It's well worth it. I think you'll find that the two of them are completely different flavors, or textures and experiences. So I want to grate this up a little bit. Get yourself a nice Parmesan grater. Good investment to have. Probably about that much. Now all we do is add this to the sauce. And voila, we've got mornay sauce. Okay, very good. So that one's done. And so mornay sauce can go on crepes, it can go on chicken, it can go on all kinds of fun things. And you put a cheese sauce on probably. We have let this is actually for once not a mistake. I have not cooked this too much. We've cooked this down to what the French call sec. So sec is basically dry. So to when there's nowhere to cook down. So these shallots have got the flavor of the wine in there with the alcohol cooked out. And then it's a question of adding whole butter. And when I use butter, it's always unsalted butter unless I tell you otherwise. I probably need the pan to be a little hotter. I'm going to get a little bit of color in here because of the pan being scorched. But I don't really want to be cooking it. I mostly got it on the heat here because the pan has gotten a little cool. So just got to be hot enough for the butter. So it's not melted butter as totally melted, right? You're looking for something that's kind of frothy. Use a fair amount of it also to be able to make it good. So that's almost done. This whisk in here. And more. Not wanting to melt completely. I'm still looking for that. See how that's foamy? I want that kind of foamy texture. I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to brown the pan as much as I did, but it's still going to be really good. So get this all incorporated in. So now what we do is add a little lemon juice. A little seasoning is in the form of salt. Maybe a little white pepper. And then you have that. So let's see how this one turned out. Oh, it's good. So far, it's a lemon beurre blanc. You can add herbs. We'll add some of this oregano in here. So we got this oregano. It's not oregano beurre blanc. This would be really good over like, whitefish, sole, cod, that kind of thing. Probably get other uses too. So that one's done. All right. We'll go back. We'll finish up our marinara here. Normally, I might wait a little longer to add the herbs. It's always good, especially when you're using fresh herbs, to add them a little bit later. But we'll add the rest of the oregano, and I'm going to add some basil. So oregano and basil about the same amount, and then thyme. Thyme is a more powerful spice. I don't add quite as much thyme as the other ingredients. You do you. You figure out what you like and taste and experiment. Salt, and in this sauce I'll use black pepper. And I'm gonna simmer this. Honestly, the longer you simmer it, the better. But simmer for a good couple hours. It'll be pretty good, right? You might need a little add water if it starts to get too thick, but that puppy's just basically done. So we got beurre blanc, marinara, mornay, which used to be bechamel. Now we'll work on the cream sauce. I think I'll get another pot for that. So again, there's a theme here. We start with white wine. And then we're going to put, depending on the herb that we're going to use in the end, we'll put either garlic or shallots, right? I'm going to do this one with sage. Sage works well with garlic, right? Oregano works well with shallots. Thyme and lemon thyme work well with shallots. Basil works with garlic, right? But you do you. If you like the flavors differently, you know, there's no reason why you can't bend and break the rules. So we're going to do the same thing where we're going to reduce that wine. Add some garlic. All right. Mix that up. So while that's cooking, we'll take some sage. So this is the sage, right? This actually tends to come back every year in our garden in Indiana, so pretty sturdy stuff. I hear a pot going here. Okay, that's good. So I guess we'll mince it up. This won't go in until the end, but we'll have it ready this way. And then we have that down a little bit. So this is we don't reduce this all the way to sec, but a little bit less, a little bit more will be right. And then we're going to add cream. And so cream is pretty cool stuff. So cream, if you whip it, it gets thick, right? But if you boil it down, it also gets thick, right? So a cream sauce made with cream is thick because it's been reduced or boiled down, right? So that's what we're going to do. So we got it about like this. You can see it's not down to sec like the beurre blanc was, right? You just want it so that the garlic cooks out a little bit. And we're going to add some cream, and then we're going to boil that down. All right. And while we're doing that, we'll talk about sauce number 6. So that's the sage cream sauce. Number 6 sauce is going to be a demiglace sauce. So you might remember from our stocks video, we made beef stock, and it takes, it's a kind of a 2-day project. But then you take that stock and you boil it down to about 25 or 20% of its volume, and it gets kind of a real creamier texture, right? And what I do, and then that's demiglace, right? It becomes thick. Again, we want to thicken things up because of the bones, right? It's a gelatinous quality of the bones that makes it thicker. So then you get, and then what I do is I strain it and then I freeze it in little containers like this. So this will be enough for like 2 steaks, right? And you see how it's coating the back of the spoon. This one could be reduced even more, and we're going to reduce it a little bit more, right? But that's just the start of the sauce of this, right? So the cream's still reducing, so we'll go on to this. So this also starts with red wine. In this case, we use a little white wine. Just because I have to make up for the fact I don't have the red wine in the house here. So we'll do the same thing with the garlic. Cook it out in the wine a little bit. It's a very small pot with a very large burner. So see how this is thickening up, right? But it's definitely not thick yet. It's not thick enough yet. We'll let that reduce a little bit longer. Okay. So there's another trick for cream sauces that I don't think I've ever read anywhere, which is that if you're trying to thicken it up, another method to do that is actually use a little Parmesan cheese. So that can be very helpful if you're running a little slower, if you want to thicken it up besides just boiling it. So these bubbles are getting bigger. Still not too thick. So I think what we'll do at this point is just going to take the demiglace and just pour it right in here. I'm going to get that on a high heat. I'm going to use this little guy here, make that on a high heat. If you're ever looking for a pot lid, you don't have one, you can use another pot like that. That's what we do in the restaurant business. So I'm going to thicken this up a little bit with Parmesan cheese. This is totally optional. Down the burner, and probably in about another minute we'll be ready to add the herb to that. Alright, yeah, we're doing it. Alright, we're going to add the herbs. So this is going to be a sage cream sauce. Alright. I like this one on chicken, and it also would be good with a pasta. These cream sauces are also good with the pasta. So that needs to thicken up a little more, and I'll be done. This is going to reduce. This will be done in probably another couple minutes. This is the demiglace sauce. So we're going to use. This is going to be my favorite herb to use in a demiglace sauce for steaks is rosemary, right? So take the little rosemary, just peel it off again, off the stem, and we'll chop her up. Okay, put her in here. So I actually made this sauce last night. I also added canned chopped up sun-dried tomatoes, which is kind of cool. You can put mushrooms in. There's all kinds of things you can put in the sauce. I put raspberries in before. Lots of other herbs are possible to use with it. There's a lot of opportunities. So we actually did one in the restaurant business with duck. The duck likes fruity things, I think, so it was made with honey and lemon and ginger. That was a pretty cool one. You got to cook the ginger out, just like you did the garlic, to be able to make that work. So it's pretty versatile. I've often wondered why you can't just buy it in the store, all the frozen little cubes like that, but if you've got some time and money, maybe you'd like to invest in that. So, all right, so here's our cream sauce, sage cream sauce. Oh, yeah. So what you can do with this also is take some of those diced tomatoes and add it in there. That makes a nice addition to it also. Try not to put in too much of the liquid in, right? Because you want to kind of have a white sauce. But, so that sage cream sauce is done. Marinara sauce is done. The blanc is done. Mornay is done. And this is just about done. It's not quite sauce consistency because it's got to reduce a little bit more. See, it's still a little light. But the flavor is definitely there. So this you would reduce a little bit longer until it's more syrupy-like. Pour it over the stocks, over the steaks, and voila, you've got yourself a good dinner. So to quickly review, tomato marinara sauce. Use it for making lasagna. Use it for pasta. Use it for all kinds of things. If you add meat in the beginning, it can be a spaghetti sauce or a vegetarian spaghetti sauce, or you can put tofu in it, towards the end. Great versatile tomato sauce out of Italy. The bechamel, which is a white sauce, and modify it to make a mornay sauce with the cheese, right? Then the third one was a beurre blanc, white butter sauce with oregano this time, but you can use all kinds of flavors with it. It's really great with basil. And then the sage cream sauce, which can be used for chicken dishes and for pasta dishes, and then demiglace sauce, which is good over steaks, right? So sauce on. I hope everybody has a good time. Bon appetit.